evening, TheoTrade. This is Corey Roseblum. Watch the Theo Not the Video for the 30th of April, 2020, and we're still talking earnings, expected moves, and even though you might not be playing this earnings season, it's good to know what major companies, for example, Apple and Amazon, have reported earnings and what the stock has done immediately following that. That was the play in Google yesterday. We'll start with the S&P real quick, and we'll come into these individual names. So the S&P is going to be on the 5-minute chart here, but mainly focus your attention on the daily chart to the right. Still at the midpoint, still at this 2900 level, which is roughly 2911, Don's gravity spot. All these levels are gravity, and on the daily chart we see a lot of them. They do help us as intraday traders, mainly for departure plays. That was a departure up yesterday's session and a departure down in today's session. But we're talking earnings and expected moves and how the markets are playing and how these big names, big market cap movers, will play into Friday's session. Let me first start with Google because it had earnings on yesterday's session at the close. And here they were. What you want to focus on this commentary, this video tonight, not so much on where this 1-minute chart goes, but how this daily chart plays in. You're looking at the straddles. I have Don's expected move for the earnings on the market. So if it's already reported, don't worry. These things are not going to play into stocks like Google that have already reported. I'm showing you the probability of expiring cone, which takes a look at the volatility component of the next few months, near-term expiration options, and we're looking at implied volatility. So all these play into the bigger picture. So just for reference, Google into yesterday's close reported earnings. We can see that it was roughly on here, 9.87, so $9.87 on the earnings. Always look at how that plays into expectations. We can obviously do that within these Analyze tabs. If you're curious, go back inside earnings and look at any stock you would like. So Google, for example, how it's performed, implied historical volatility, actual versus expectations, beat or not. And then, of course, how the straddles, at the money straddles, played and resolved. We're not playing too much into the earnings. Again, Don talks about that. So this is more of an observe and learn earnings season as opposed to actively trade it. Though you certainly can try and play some butterflies or some spreads and the like. So keep in mind, whenever you want to look inside the earnings, you can take a look at either the news, a lot to read, of course, this earnings tab on the Analyze chart or grid, how the price has behaved, how each little earnings has played into a gap up, gap down, and of course how implied and historical volatility have interacted, and the at the money straddle. And Google has beat earnings all except for the last quarter. That's just one way to look at the markets. Of course, we can look at Apple, which just reported. And with respect to Apple, we'll go ahead and link this here. Apple's been in line with Wall Street estimates. Just today, they had a small beat. And again, that's on the news profile on thinkorswim, live news, revenue, and what the news headlines are, and all the like in there. If you're curious, I can't do that all in the midst of a 10-minute video tonight, but those are where you would find the resources to study and learn more about your positions and how the stock has performed with gaps. Oh, they over here actually for the Q2 2020. That's quarter 1, quarter 2. Back to the charts though. With Apple reporting earnings, it's 2.55 per share. This is playing into the expected moves. Again, grain of salt in these at the money straddles. So that's playing up to the 313, 316 per share. It's sort of obscured by the chart grid. And we see the probability of expiring cone wider when the implied volatility is higher. And what's the stock doing at the moment? That's where the 5-minute chart and the 1-minute chart come in. Mainly for just interest point of view and how it might play out into Friday's session. So all that being said, Apple's a market mover, and how it reports, how it behaves, can influence the market up or down on Friday, not to mention Amazon. So again, as of the video, which is shortly after the market closes here on the 30th, not much for you for Apple. It's roughly where it started. So it's going to close the session 294. And right now it's just above 294. So not Not a lot after a gap and then go, but we'll certainly play into that on Friday's session. Amazon is a little bit different. So its parameters in terms of straddles are 2686, 2261. So roughly speaking, expected move. Again, we're not doing that much with this because volatility and earnings are just a little bit off pace due to the coronavirus and the economy shut down. So that's why we're probably punting or not trading this earnings season. It has a unique variable to it. And at the moment, Amazon, again, news always available here. Just link your chart to the news tab. And you can go right inside that. You can also click here and see the earnings. And of course, once again, well, there you go, right? So earnings are estimated 6.35, actual 5.01. So that's a little bit of a miss in that sense. All right. So what's going on? Amazon is popping to the downside. Expected move to the downside, 2261. That's quite a way away. So this 1 minute chart, all it does for reference at the end of the session is show us what the overnight or snap reaction is to the earnings. This probably will be different tomorrow as we start the next session. So keep that in mind for your trades. Just walking you through these and how this plays out. So Apple is up to flat after the earnings. Amazon is down. How much is it down? I don't think significantly. Well, I shouldn't say that. 2450. It trades about $100 lower. So 2370 comes in right here. Hard to see, I know. But zooming in, it's closed the session at 248 level, 2474, etc. And now we're down to 2360, right? Just keeping in mind price levels and volatility. Beyond the top names of Amazon and Apple, we have Amgen. And again, the parameters are here during Don's not weekly expected move, but the earnings implied volatility, straddles, and all the information from the Analyze tab plays into it as well. On the chart, just of interest, of note, Amazon's gapped and turned lower. Amgen is gapped and turned lower. Gilead Sciences, that's been in the news a lot lately. Its implied volatility, actually take a look at the trade tab because this is fun. The implied volatility for Gilead, remember it had that little trial, sent the markets falling because it missed some data. But then it's back in the news. So Gilead's a healthcare trying to work on some either vaccines or treatments or just medical things for the coronavirus. And its stock certainly has a high implied volatility, over 114%. And that normalizes as we go forward, but it's still in a high volatility state. That is going to translate, I'll go ahead and make this larger, into maximize the sell, how the probability of expiring cone. So that's what this is right here. And again, just kind of cross-checking the indicators. We don't use the Bollinger Bands. Implied volatility rank, probability of expiring cone, and of course we have Don's earnings indicator, and of course implied volatility. So as we get ready to trade Friday's session, we did have a down day today. That's, I think, the dominant thesis. That's what you should be doing, is selling into a rally here. 2900 is your key pivot along with 2911. Think the market's going to tank and go lower, but can't predict the future. Just got to put the trades on, manage the trades, manage your spreads, keeping in mind any headline news and, of course, major earnings reports from leading companies. We'll have more information. You'll know more than I do because you'll know this video. You'll be receiving this video a few hours after this. So there'll be additional movement in the after hours market and, of course, the pre-market activity. And then Friday's session is a go. As always, be careful and safe. It's Corey Rosenblum with your Theo Nightly video for April 30th, 2020.